going to tell my diagnosis story today. Figured we have Drew's on here, we have Ellery, and our whole thing is about the three of us and about helping others with type 1 diabetes, so I decided it was probably my turn to share. I feel like mine's a little different because I was young, and I have memories and bits and pieces, but I was little. And that's another reason I'm really glad, on top of all of this, that I'm kind of laying out our journey and documenting it for Ellery so she can look back later and see how much we fought and advocated for her and tried to educate ourselves and learn things, and then also reach out and help other people, you know, to kind of learn from our mistakes, or if we figure out tips that make things easier to be able to do that. But so for her, she 3 years old, you know, it's all she's going to know. She's not going to know any different. And so it's nice for her to be able to see kind of how her journey laid out and how it began from the time she was diagnosed. And then for my husband, he remembers everything because he was 26. So for me, I was 7. So I do have memories. I was terrified of needles, like so scared of them. And it was a regular, typical summer day, and we were playing, having fun. I have 3 other siblings, glad not to be in school and just having a good time. And then I started feeling sick. So my mom thought that I probably just had the flu. So got me in bed, you know, and she's like, why isn't she feeling better after 2 or 3 days? Just not myself at all, no energy, kind of lethargic, not feeling good, which I'm sure a lot of parents have experienced this with their little ones, unfortunately. Then one night she says to my dad, I'm gonna go in and sleep with her tonight and just see how she's doing. Something's just not feeling right. And I got up like 15 times to go to the bathroom, and my mom's like, something's wrong. At like 3 in the morning, she goes to my dad and she goes, we need to take her to the hospital right now. So they take me to the hospital, and back then we didn't have as much knowledge as we do now, but they knew what it was, and they were like, if you would have brought her in like 15 minutes later, she would have been gone. Like, it's a good thing you went in with her because she wouldn't have survived the night. So high blood sugars, I was in DKA, I lost like 14 pounds within a number of days. You could almost see my teeth through my skin. I was very thin, looked like a skeleton, very little. And so then it began. So doing the finger pokes, doing the injections, because that's all we had. Having to get the bottle and even match it up to the color codes to try to decide what the blood sugar was at, until we were able to get a reader that actually gave us numbers, which we thought was just astounding. So it's incredible to see how much technology has come, but it was a very scary thing. I remember the diabetes educators coming in and telling us, you know, what was wrong with me, and I said, what? I didn't even understand. I never heard that word before. And then they were sitting there, my parents had oranges, and they were practicing giving shots to them, on them. And I just was terrified. I would just scream and cry, and it was a lot. Just like all these kids that get diagnosed, it's such a hard thing to understand, because one day you're fine and then the next day you're not. And you know the difference between the two worlds. But we got a lot of good education. My parents have always been wonderful and so supportive and helpful, and at home they rearranged everything, because at that time they said you can't have any sugar, and they called me a brittle diabetic and said that I couldn't even have white flour, everything had to be wheat flour. We didn't know anything about carbohydrates, we just knew sugar wasn't good for you, or sugar could hurt you. So I was told it's poison, I was told it's toxic, I could never have any. And I know that my parents probably took my siblings out, like for, you know, when it was their birthday, or, you know, for ice cream cones and things like that, but they didn't do it around me because I couldn't have it. And we didn't keep it in the house. We had a very health-friendly kitchen as far as what was available for snacks and meals. And then I remember at school, if kids had a birthday party, I could either be handed an apple while everybody else had cupcakes, or I could leave the room. I remember having to get up at 7 in the morning and taking a shot, and then I had to eat breakfast within about a half an hour or 15 minutes. had to go to the nurse for a snack at 10 a.m., had to eat lunch at noon, had to have a snack at 2 in the afternoon, had to have dinner and a shot around 5, and a bedtime snack at 8. And my dad used to come in and lay his head on my chest and put his finger right here to see if I was breathing, because we had scary episodes where I went really low, and he was terrified when I was sleeping, because as we all know, if you're sleeping and your blood sugar drops, you can faint, go into a coma, and die in your sleep. So it's very serious, and it's something that has to have constant around-the-clock care. So having something like a continuous glucose monitor, like a Dexcom, that can tell you every 5 minutes what your blood sugar at is incredible. And having an insulin pump so you can avoid all those shots every day. So when I first started, I was on like R and NPH, which was like regular, like fast acting and long acting is what it was. And then eventually I got to where I was on a fast acting and just 1 time a day had to take a long term, until I got onto a pump, which is just fast acting all the time. So it's there's been a lot of different changes over time. When I first started, I was on pig insulin because that's all that was available, and then it got to where you could have human, basically they've made synthetic insulin that mimics human insulin, and that's what we're able to use. And I just use Humalog, but Humalog, Novolog, and there's other kinds that are on the market and that work. But it's just incredible when you look at how far it's come. I mean, it just blows my mind. The next thing we need really is a cure, but this is where we're at this point. So I know that I'm just so thankful that I have Dexcom, especially for my daughter, because she can go scary alone. She's so teeny, she's way younger than I was. And their bodies are so small that everything impacts them so greatly as far as highs and lows go, that it's really nice to know what their blood sugars are at all of the time. I think I will do a part 2 and a part 3, and I will have my mom give her little interpretation of what happened, as well as my dad, because they lived it firsthand. And it's also been tough for them because they've had to watch us go through now their granddaughter being diagnosed and bringing back all those memories of everything that happened when it was me and how scared and terrified they were. And then also them watching me go through, watching my daughter experience this like they did with me. And so there's so much emotion involved, and I feel like there's a lot of mental health that we don't talk about that we should, and the way it affects us, the way it affects our families, the way it affects the entire dynamic of our family, and how things run and what you do and everything, you know, whether it's activities or vacations or meals, everything changes with your diagnosis. But it's just something that's good to talk through and work out and figure out what you can do that works for your family. And yeah, so I just wanted to share some of that, and we'll be back on later. Thanks. Like and subscribe my page if you can. We just want to let more people know that we're here to help, and you can message us anytime.